Welcome everyone for showing up. We greatly appreciate it. My name is Agostino. I am with Bulletproof Cashflow. This show specifically is called Real Estate Explained Live, right? So we have a podcast that will be coming out here soon called Real Estate Explained. We're kind of rebranding things with a focus on all things real estate, right? And I think that that's going to be very important. What we're doing is we're broadening out our reach, so to speak, in terms of real estate. So typically we cover multifamily syndication, that kind of thing. But we also on the show talk about everything from single family to mobile home parks to land, making money with real estate. I'm a real big believer in that. And it wasn't always the same way, right? I got my start in corporate America. I was a C-level executive. I used to work at large publicly traded companies running enterprise IT. And I was a young 30-something guy running all these giant budgets and leading all these people. But despite all that, I was always scared to death that I was going to lose my job. I'm going to get fired. Something's going to happen to me. I think it's because historically, up until that point, I've worked at other companies and something always goes south, or there's a change in ownership or change in management. And next thing you know, they hand you the box, you pack up your stuff and you get lost. I was always afraid of that. Even though with this company, I had huge success. I had the cars and the houses and all that. Everything was going great until it wasn't, and that part was a really dark time in my life. But the thing is, though, at that time when I was working at this company, it's say 17 years ago, I started doing single family. That's where I got my start, doing single families, buying the single families, either buy and hold, buying them, marking them up, selling them, flipping them, whatever I could to make extra money on the side while being a C-level executive at a publicly traded company. I also got into small multifamily as well at the same time, because I knew it's like, well, I kind of figured it out on my own. This is before I even knew about Carlton Sheets or all these other guys, these other gurus that are out there. Is, well, if one unit works, why not get two? Why not get three? Why not get more? That kind of thing. So I got that start. And I've been at this for quite a long time. I started in the single family space, as I said before. Nowadays, fast forward to what we're doing today, we're into about 1,000 units right now. And as Kevin just mentioned a second ago here, we just bought the Rockefeller building in downtown Cleveland. Massive redevelopment project. We're taking this property that John D. Rockefeller used to own. He was headquartered here before he moved to New York. This is where he called home. So it's going to be 110 million when it's completed, right? It's going to be a massive project, right? So if you guys have watched my show before, you'll probably notice that this background is very, very different. And that's because I'm actually in Florida right now. I'm at my brother's house. We set up the studio here in one of the rooms. And what I'm doing down here is I'm looking for multifamily. I'm looking for other asset classes down here as well to expand out the portfolio beyond my home base in Cleveland, Ohio. And one of the first things you're going to realize in a place like Cleveland, Ohio, that market is what I call a cash flow market. This market is an appreciation market. And all markets are going to be one of these two things. They're going to be cash flow or they're going to be appreciation. And each have their own strengths and weaknesses, right? I like cash flow markets. Steady income comes in, goes out, investors are happy, I'm happy, everything is fine, right? An appreciation market, though, like what Florida has become, I'd say over the past 10 years, I'm not going to say there's speculation, but you're relying on the massive amounts of demand pushing the prices up, right? And squeezing those cap rates down, right? So anyway, I seem to think, though, there are still deals out here, especially in the hotel and hospitality business, which we're considering. We're checking it out. We're still a ways away from buying anything there. But there's opportunities. And if there's a way to get in there and get into some deals, buy some assets, great. But the point is that what real estate has allowed me to do is come down here for basically almost as long as I want, shop for real estate down here. My team back home is still running all the assets up there. And you know what? I'm able to do that. And I think for most people that are probably watching this right now, they're like, hey, I don't want to be stuck in the cold winter depths of Cleveland, Ohio. If I could be down in Florida for a month or two or however long I want to do it, right? And that's the thing. I'm very lucky that I get to do this. I mean, it's not all fun and games. I mean, I am working, of course, but you get to see the nice green grass and blue skies, and I can go down to the beach at night, grab a drink, do whatever I want to do, right? Live life on my own terms. That's what real estate has done. And that's what real estate has done. So, and I'm hoping that you guys will get out of this the same thing that I'll get out of it as well. So, as I said earlier, this is a weekly show. We're doing this every Thursdays at noon. Of course, we also put this up on the YouTube channel and other media channels as well. So you're able to check this out any given time you want. So now to that end, I want to talk about the three big secrets of real estate, how to make millions in real estate. And it's funny, Kevin touched on this a second ago. One of our guests here touched on this a second ago in terms of how he made his money, and he did it the same way that I was going to open up with. Now, back when I was getting started in this business, I was doing, as I said, fix and flips and buying single families and doing those types of assets, right? Smaller assets. Now, part of the reason why I was doing that is because my mentor at the time had told me that, well, this is how you do it. This is how you build your millions. And I don't think she really knew about syndication, or she did. She wasn't telling me about it, but that's all I knew at the time, right? And that's essentially how I did it. I did fix and flips. I did buy and hold. Of course, I still had some of those buy and hold. I still have one house left in Virginia, of all places. It's in Portsmouth, Virginia. I still have that one last house from all that experience. And the one thing, though, I think for many of the folks here is there's a couple of things. There's financing. Financing is probably one of the biggest issues. And what do you do in the case of the asset type and who is renting from you? Okay. And, I guess we'll talk about that. I'll have the audience tell me a little bit more about who they're renting to these days. But these days, money is far more readily available than, say, it was back in 2008 or even in previous crashes. And that's because there's hard money people out there. Now, I don't like just doing hard money loans just for the sake of doing hard money loans. I mean, they get to be quite expensive, right? But the thing is, if you're able to get in on a hard money loan and get into a hard money loan, get the deal closed, use your own money. Maybe you do use some credit cards to finance the repairs and whatnot. Pull out the refi and just keep on leveraging that. That is a beautiful way to get into the business. And as a matter of fact, my brother here in Florida is looking to do the same sort of thing, rebuilding his entire portfolio of single families. He built a huge portfolio of real estate back in 2008. He ended up liquidating it, and now he's doing it all over again, right? But this is one methodology, especially I think Chris, you're talking about this. Is that what you're able to do is acquire these assets, right? You can use your own money, right? There's no reason why you can't use hard money, you can't use leverage to do that as well. Yeah, it's a phenomenal way to get it. And what I always suggest to people is, right when you first walk into a deal, or actually even before you walk into a deal, know where your money is coming from first and foremost. I'm not saying you have to have all the money lined up in the bank ready to go, but at least have an idea. Have an idea, like, did someone commit to you already? Did you talk to the lenders already? The lender's saying, yeah, we'll lend you something. If you have an X amount credit score, if you have an X amount of money in the bank, if you have these sorts of qualifications, verbally anyway, then great, we'll cut you a loan, okay? And then what you can do, say you do find a deal that's not really appealing, send it to them anyway. Hey, how's this deal? And see what they say. Because this will give you an indication if they're going to actually do the deal or not, if they're for real. Because the last thing you want to do is go to a wholesaler or go to like try to acquire an asset from a broker or something like that, and you can't perform because that one guy that you were asking to do the hard money loan suddenly won't do it for whatever reason. Test them. Always test them. Let them prove themselves to you before you actually go through and sign up with them, right? Always test them, right? And I mean, my brother just did that the other day, actually. He had a deal, sent it over to a hard money guy, hard money guy comes back. Oh no, the deal's too small now. Oh, well, you didn't say that before. You didn't say it last time, but okay, great. Now we know this, right? It's kind of like you want to know that when they're going to be able to perform, right? And the funny thing is that this sort of stuff that I'm telling you, it's the same thing that even whether you're doing a $30,000 deal, a $300,000 deal, or a $30 million deal, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You know, I'm working on a $34 million deal right now, and I'm going to do this with a lender broker that I know will perform. I know they'll do it, right? Because I've already done, I think, 8 or 9 deals with them. So I know they're going to pull it off. I know they're going to pull it off. So I'm not worried about it, right? That part is absolutely huge. Now, I guess this is a second thing related to this line of business that is very, very topical for the folks on this call, I think, right? There's a strategy that's used by BlackRock, this whole lease to own model, right? And now, is anybody here getting in on like like C-, C-class assets, that kind of thing? Or is anybody here worried about the whole rent moratorium or anything else like that? Is that a concern in some of your markets, guys? No?
I'm not really that concerned about it at this point, at least.
Okay. Okay, good. Well,
With
all right.
with the current cap rates, it seems like a lot of guys are jumping over to the A class.
Yeah, that's
Just because less deferred maintenance and your returns are almost as good as the C and B, and
that's
less
exactly
risk.
it. Yeah, that's exactly it, Kevin. And the money is cheap. The money is super cheap. You know, the money we're talking. This one deal I was just talking about right now, it's sub 3%, a sub 3% with a 35-year AM, the 35-year amortization. The payments are going to be super low. It's going to be crazy.
Is that Freddie Mac?
It's a HUD loan, HUD.
Oh, HUD. So you got some restrictions there.
Oh yeah, there's some restrictions, but I mean, it's cheap money, right? If it's going to be a long-term hold, everybody wins on that one. Yeah.
Freddie Mac appears to be beating off Fannie Mae big time right now.
Yeah.
I think Fannie Mae has to pick up their bootstraps and, start digging in, get a little bit better terms, and Freddie.
They got to start being more
aggressive. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though, something that at least in some markets anyway, there's a concern about right now is this whole thing about this rent moratorium stuff. Right now, we actually have a couple of assets where some of the tenants, they're saying, we don't want to pay the rent, so we don't have to. We're not doing it. And they haven't paid the rent. And the courts allow them to get away with this, right? Evicting them becomes a challenge to do it. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. It becomes very, very difficult. And while I don't know if some of you guys are in the cold depths of winter where you're at, but up in Cleveland, for instance, it gets very, very cold. And some of the judges have a soft spot. They'll let the tenant stay there for 3, 4, 5 months, rent free, right? It gets to be expensive. It gets to be very expensive, right? So what do you do? Well, one option that you may want to consider is doing a rent to own option, a lease to own option, right? What I find is that it's a very different model than just buying and holding, buying and renting, right? Where they become the owner of the asset. They got to put down 15 grand, 10 grand, and then they start making monthly payments towards ownership of the house, say in 3 years or something like that. But then the likelihood of them actually stopping payment or whatever, stopping paying the rent becomes much smaller, right? And if they do, then it's not an eviction anymore. You're taking the house back. It's because now you have a note on the house. Right now you're basically a lender. So that's something outside of the 3 secrets that they may want to consider doing if you're in one of those markets, depending on, again, who's on and what you guys are doing. And in a place here like Florida, for instance, not much of a concern unless you're in a D market. But up in Cleveland, I think it happens more so than it does, say, down here, right? But I think you should apply that depending on where you're at and depending on your overall strategy. Because I know we talked about fix and flips, but keep in mind, though, guys, that is still a job. And I think that anyone who's done that for any extended amount of time will tell you it's not like easy work. It's not like slam dunk. There's a lot of effort that goes into doing that type of work, right? It's yeah, it really is a lot of work. And I think that now, Kevin, you said you've done this for a while. You'll even attest to that, right? I mean, when you were first starting out, it took a lot of effort to go ahead and find all the assets, to get them straightened out, to bring in all your contractors, to keep an eye on them, all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah, it's just to find the right deal itself is a lot of work, and then you got to obviously have the financing, whether it's credit cards, hard money. You got to figure out your hold period. I was fortunate. I was working for a company that dealt with a lot of REOs through the bank, so I got the opportunity to go in there firsthand, lock them up for the banks, and then I would go to the auction the following month and bid on the same one I locked up. So I had an advantage over the other guys because I was already in the property.
Yeah.
So I'd pull all the shades, block all the doors with furniture, lock up the doors, and said, okay, I'm ready to bid. So I had a little bit of advantage, but like you said, you're only as good as your last deal.
That's right.
I did about 100 flips. And the last one, I didn't lose my shirt, but I lost about, 60 grand because I did the mistake of rehabbing it like I was going to live there.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, what can I do that's going to make this property shine? But I went too far, and, I let my emotions get the best of me. I put too much into it. So I sold it at a loss and said, that's it. I'm done with flips. Even though I made, a lot of good money doing it, it kind of kept my lifestyle going, but it didn't get me to the next level.
Right.
So after that last one I got burnt on, it made me actually look into other opportunities. And that's what led me into the multifamily syndication.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I know, and it's funny too, Kevin, is that with that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they over improve the property, right? They'll
Right.
go in and put in all this beautiful soffits, expensive paint, and super nice flooring and all this stuff. Not really necessary if it's a rental. They're not really necessary, right? And I'll bet that is there a Habitat for Humanity near you? Have you heard of this place?
I used to do some work for them.
Yeah. So
I volunteered. It's nice. I think they get them pretty much in all the major cities.
yeah, well,
Great.
that's the thing. For some of you folks out there, if you guys do the fix and flip, Habitat for Humanity have these retail stores. You can go there and actually buy stuff from them, buy flooring that wasn't used, paint that wasn't used, whatever. I mean, you have to mix and match, but if you're doing a house, there should be enough to at least cover a few things in the house instead of paying full retail. Because the key is to try to get as much margin as you can, on those properties, right? That's the key. That's the key. So the second thing is, as Kevin alluded to, is syndication, right? When it comes to deal syndication, basically what it involves is pooling other people's money and investing it into a deal. Okay, so I'm pooling other people's money and investing into a deal. So for instance, I'll find a deal and I'll give my buddy a call. Hey man, listen, we got this deal here. Let's go take a look at it. My buddy maybe he'll fly out. We'll go take a look at it. We run the numbers. We like it. We negotiate a deal, and we have a great asset. We believe to be a great asset. It's going to make everyone a lot of money. From there, we go to our investors and say, hey guys, here's what we have. Here's why we love it. Here's where it's going to go. And here's the plan on how we're going to cash flow it and the exit. The investors, they're cool with it. They like it. They throw their money in, right? And then we take all that money, leverage it up, and buy the asset. Pretty easy, straightforward. The thing is, though, is that the way that we become wealthy in these assets is, especially in a market like Florida, as I alluded to before, is through the refinancing aspect of this. This part is absolutely huge, big, right? There's an asset that we bought some time ago. It was called Triumph Tower in Euclid. And that asset, we paid just over $4 million for it. We took it, we fixed it up, right? I mean, it was a disaster, right? It was a complete disaster. The flooring was all bad. Most of the tenants weren't paying. What else was there? Some of the exterior didn't look so good. Even the vegetation and the grass was all burnt up. I mean, it was terrible, just terrible. So we ended up having to take the asset. We fixed all the flooring. We repainted all the hallways. We brought in new property management. I mean, that's actually the first thing that we did. And the thing is that when you bring in the right property management, sometimes that by itself is a huge value add, huge, because now you're putting rules around how you're going to manage this asset. And it gives the tenants the expectation of there's actually someone keeping an eye on this property and they care about the asset. So they're less likely to screw around with the asset. But here's the thing, okay? After you build all this value, you then go to the bank 18 months later, which is what we did. And we go back to the bank, we said, we want to refinance this asset, right? We want to pull out the equity and give it back to the investors. Okay, great. So they come in, they see that rents were once at $550. Now they're like almost $700 on average a month. Huge increase. So it increases your NOI, your net operating income. And in commercial real estate, it comes down to NOI, right? That's what you care about. It's more about NOI than it is about cap rate. You care about NOI, net operating income. If you increase the NOI, that's what the bank looks at. What's your multiple of NOI? What's your multiple of income? Well, what we did was we actually improved this property so much in an 18-month period from $4 million, what we paid for it. We got a valuation, I think of like 5.5 million in a year and a half, a 1.5 million increase. Not bad, great. Refi it, pull out the equity, give some to the investors. We got a little piece of it, and that's it. Everybody's happy, right? That's one deal. You do this with 13, 14, 15 deals like we have cooking right now, it adds up. It adds up. But the refinancing principle applies super to commercial properties, but the same thing also happens with smaller assets as well, which I believe is like, especially with the single families and the flips and all that stuff, is a great way of building some excess cash to get into a deal, refinance it, pull that cash out, and then just roll it into the next deal. Now, another thing that I did not mention earlier anyway was the use of a self-directed IRA. Have you guys heard of self-directed IRAs? Have you guys heard of those?
Yep.
Use them all the time.
Beautiful. Good. Because I meet people that have never heard of self-directed IRA, and they say, oh, you know what? I would invest, or I would buy this asset over here as an investment, but I don't have any money. Then I ask them, I go, you got a 401k? And they said, oh yeah. Yeah, and I have an old 401k from a company I used to work at years ago. Cool. How much you got in there? Well, a couple $100,000. So not really doing much with it. I said, did you know you can invest that? And they're looking at me like, what? They had no idea. They had no idea that they can do it. And once I hook them up with an introduction to one of my friends that does this for a living. And I mean, it's like now they're able to take that money, redirect it into a property, fix it up. And now they can't spend that money themselves, right? I mean, they can't like pull the money out and put it in their pocket. It has to go back into the self-directed IRA. But now you're able to at least buy asset, improve it, pull out whatever cash comes, the improvements out of it, and pull it back into the self-directed IRA and redeploy it in another asset. That is probably one of the biggest secrets that people have no idea even exists. They just don't even know anything about it, which I think is absolutely crazy. But I mean, hey, I was one of those guys years ago too that had no idea that was even a thing, right? It's crazy. So Chris, I think you said you use it right now, right?
No, I didn't say. I just said I heard of them. It was another call, another person on.
Oh, okay. Who all is using it right now?
I used one for the first deal, but it was a small amount. It was a 42 unit in Clearwater, Florida.
Okay.
It's a small amount of money, but like you said, it's better in a multifamily deal than it is just sitting in a, typical, account that's, I don't know, maybe making 4 to 5%.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's such a huge savings on taxes, and I do think that there are ways of skirting the tax man, so to speak. And but that's probably one of the most effective ways of doing that is the self-directed IRA. It's huge, just huge. And these are all tools that you can certainly use at your disposal to increase your net worth that way. I've used self-directed IRAs for some of the stuff that we've bought, and I've watched that thing multiply tremendously from doing this, right? And some of our other assets that we actually raised money for, we encourage people, use your self-directed IRA, throw into our deals, and again, all that money is going to go back to them 3 times, right back into the self-directed IRA. Huge.
I believe in a syndication, you can only take a certain amount, though, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know what the guidelines are, the maximum?
I don't know. Usually people are throwing down 100K, 200K, something like that, but I don't know. I forget what the maximum is. I know that one single individual can't be 20%. That much I do know, but I don't know what the maximum is in a self-directed IRA. Yeah. I don't know what that is. Maybe it might vary from deal to deal. I'm not sure.
It might depend on the size of the deal, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it might be the limit of the 20%.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Because and what I'm referring to, guys, is that so in any syndication, there's the general partners and the limited partners, and the general partners, they're the ones that put the deal together. So I'll find a property and I'll call my buddy Kenny Wolf, and then Kenny and I will get on a call and we work out a deal with the brokers and yada yada yada. We have a building under contract. So Kenny and I become the general partners, and as a general partner, we are running the deal, right? We're making sure that the inspections take place, the underwriting happens, the deal is vetted out. Okay. Then once we're confident that the asset is a good asset to buy, we ask limited partners, hey, do you guys want to get in on this deal? And they jump in, they invest their cash into the deal. And the reason why they're limited as opposed to general is because they're limited to the sense that if something happens to the property, if someone, I don't know, slip and fall and they hurt themselves, the limited partners can't get sued. They're limited, right? They're only investors. They're passive investors, so they can't get sued. Kenny and I got to deal with it, right? We don't get sued either, but that's what insurance is for. But I think you get my point. Kenny and I have to deal with it. Probably goes to the insurance company. They handle the whole thing. But the limited partners, they're limited, right? They don't have to deal with any of that stuff. So it's a win-win, of course, for us and for the investors. Investors get to throw down on a great deal, and they have very little responsibility, so to speak, or risk exposure as, like, say, other general partners would, right? So that's a high-level overview of what that's all about, but works out great for limited partner versus a general partner. Yeah. So, all right, good. So, and now the third thing is the 1031 exchange. And the 1031 exchange is a huge, powerful way to I guess you could say, magnify your money. Now, has anybody here not heard of a 1031? Are you guys familiar with what that is?
Yeah, Agostino, if you can just provide a quick high level, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. Good. All right. So the 1031 exchange is one of those tools that not very many people know about, but what it allows you to do is take the gains from one asset and roll it into another asset as what's called a like-kind exchange. Okay, so let's go through an example. Let's say, for instance, I have a 12-unit property, okay, and I bought this 12-unit property for $120,000, and a year later I sell it for $220,000. So now I got a gain of $100,000, right? Now, usually I would have got taxed. I get taxed on that $100,000, right? As capital gains, income tax, right? However, with a 1031 exchange, I'm able to take this $100,000 and roll it into the next deal, all of it, no tax, right? Boom. Now I get to roll the entire $100,000 into this other deal over here. So now let's say, for instance, this is a $300,000 asset. All right. I roll my $100,000 in and might even make up the whole down payment, right? I might be able to get the whole deal done with that 1031. So super. So now I'm in this $300,000 vehicle and it goes up by $200,000. All right. So now I'm going to take this and roll it into the next deal. I'm going to take the capital gains from that and roll into the next one and keep on magnifying it, entirely tax-free. But there's certain limits around how long you can't do this over too long of a period of time. I forget. I think you have like 60 days to move that money, I believe, right?
Yeah, 45 to ID a property.
Yeah,
and then 180 to 180 to close.
Exactly. So it's kind of like it's a huge win to keep on rolling it. That in itself is enormous. Now, someone just asked, doesn't Biden want to get rid of the 1031? Yes, it's true. You know, he does want to get rid of it. I was actually talking to a couple brokers today. He seems to think that we're still probably about a year away before he can even start working on anything like that. But at the same time too, right now is probably, if you're going to do this, is the best time to do it. There's it's still there now. It's still working today. But if you're going to take advantage of the 1031, if you already have assets, it's the best time to execute on it. Now, I counter with him getting rid of it. I don't know that he will get rid of it. I mean, I don't quite understand what would happen in Congress, because for many of those guys, they own real estate. And the way they bought that real estate was probably through 1031 exchanges. So it'd be very interesting to see how they would all agree to that law, right? Or to blowing it away. I don't know. But for the time being, if you could take advantage of that, you need to take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. I am. Many of the people that are investing with us, they are. I mean, they're ever since the election, many of the people that we do business with, I mean, they're scrambling to try to leverage 1031s as fast as they can right now, which is also why we're probably seeing this spike in real estate prices, because it's like there's all this influx of cash trying to find a home right now, right? There's actually another question here that I missed. Who handles the self-directed IRA? So there's a iPlan Group. There's one lady that I know over at iPlan Group, Roberta. If you guys want to know who that is, just send me a note, send me an email. I'll forward you her information, and you guys could get in touch with her. There's other ones. Equity Trust is the second one. I know there's other ones too. There's plenty of people that handle the self-directed IRA, but they'll hook you up. They'll send you all the paperwork. They will connect you up and get you working. But let's see if there's any other questions here. My screen is further out here. Let's see. All right, good. All right, but getting back to the 1031 exchange, if any guys have any gains at all in your real estate, even real estate, you might be sitting on a house right now that might have experienced a gain. You know, might be something you can do there. Won't hurt, right? And Kevin, you used 1031s before, right?
Well, the problem is with 1031s is you can't really roll them into syndications because it's not considered, real estate at that point. So in order to get involved with a syndication, what I found over the last few months is that you would have to set it up as a TIC, a tenant in common. And not too many GPs want to do that because it's a lot of work. It's a separate deed. So basically he would be almost like a GP at that point.
Right.
He would have separate documents from the other limited partners.
Yeah.
So
it depends.
A lot of guys a lot of GPs won't do it just because of that reason. So I've only found one. I don't know if you know Dan Hanford.
Oh yeah, Dan. Sure. Dan's a good guy.
He'll take on a TIC, but he hasn't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
And he's already done about probably 15 to 20 deals. So that just tells you it's a rare type of vehicle for GPs to get involved with,
Yeah. But that is definitely a way for someone right now that's got equity built up to
Yeah, they
definitely
can
get
roll
it.
it into another of their own deals.
Yeah,
But
you can buy your own deals right now. Yeah,
to get
exactly.
involved in a syndication with that 1031, it's really difficult.
Yeah,
So you got to
and
find the right
but you know,
GP that'll do it. You know.
exactly. But you know what though? It's like whether you do whether you syndicate deals on your own, whether you come on board with us, you know, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm always looking for new partners, always looking to partner up with people and make everyone rich, right? But at the same time too, you know what? If Chris says, you know, I want to have my own syndication, or I want to buy my own 100 unit or a 50 unit or whatever, and I'm going to do a 1031 exchange. Hey man, by all means, this is the information for you. You know, the thing is though, I think that time is of the essence, and if you're going to do this, you got to like jump on it like right now. It's because we don't know what the future holds with what's going to happen with in the future here with the new incoming president, because just as I pointed out, he says he wants to get rid of it. Let's see, we got a question here. Can't you form an LLC to avoid the TI? What do you mean by TI, Irene? Taxable income? Irene, can you hear me? I think you're muted if you're talking. I don't know. You guys can hear me, right? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
She's probably on mute.
Yeah. All right. Can't you form an LLC to avoid the taxable income? Oh, okay. All right. So can you form an LLC? I don't think it's going to matter whether you form an LLC or not. I mean, if all it's going to do is just a pass through anyway. And if anything, the LLC is going to pay taxes on it. And depending on how you structure things, you're probably going to end up paying taxes again. So it's there isn't really a way to avoid the tax man. Unfortunately, they find a way to get the money out of you. They 100% will always find a way to get their money out of you. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the bad thing about that. Yeah.
Just have to try to go the depreciation route with the cost segregation.
And that is, yeah. And thanks, Kevin. That's another huge way right there to offset your taxable income is
Right.
something called accelerated depreciation. I know we promised 3 of them, but this is a whole bunch of bonus stuff right here, which is great. When it comes to when it comes to accelerated depreciation, doing what's called a cost segregation analysis is one of those things on larger properties anyway that is done to help offset your taxable income. And think of it like this, okay? An asset that let's say I think it's in excess of $1 million, or in the case of multifamily, I think there's some sort of limit, like 70 units or greater, or something to that effect. It's really the size of the asset and the dollar value of the asset, where it really comes down to it. But what they do is they depreciate the individual components of the property at different times. So unlike normal depreciation, it's a straight line depreciation. So think of it, this is a chart and it's like the straight line, straight down, right? Well, with accelerated depreciation, they, just as the term implies, accelerate the depreciation. What they're saying is that, you know what, the floors and the walls are going to be here for a long period of time, but you know, the paint on the wall is not going to last nearly as long as, let's say, the countertop. The countertop's going to wear out, and you're going to have to replace the kitchen before you replace this wall or replace these doors. So that we're going to depreciate the countertop before we depreciate these individual doors or these individual floors or walls, or we're going to replace the fixtures or whatever the case may be. But each individual component has its own life cycle, right? And because of that, you're able to compress that time and take a huge depreciation up front. So what does that mean for you? Well, it's a tax write-off, right? And that is how many people get to shelter their gains year over year from the tax man, because when you have these paper losses, so to speak, your taxes go to zero just about, depending on who you talk to, right? I mean, I have friends of mine that they just don't pay taxes because they have so many deals with accelerated depreciation that they have all their income, no taxes, like zero, literally zero taxes. It's insane, crazy. And if you live in a place like Texas or Florida, it's even better, right? So that in itself is a phenomenal way of keeping hold of your money and sheltering it from the tax man, right? Huge way. Now, the thing is, you can only use those sorts of tools on larger assets. You can't use this, like, say, for your single family home is too small, or I think even a 4-plex or an 8-plex or a 12-plex is still too small. I think the cost varies to get one of these studies done, but it really depends on the size of the deal, like how many units it is. Like I said before, if it's a big project, it might cost, I don't know, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, you know, so or more. It goes up from there, again, depending on the size. But the savings you get is very, very material, huge, absolutely huge. Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys heard of accelerated depreciation or cost segregation? Have you guys heard of that?
It's only been around for a couple of years because of the new laws.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But hopefully it'll carry on for a while, like the 1031 does, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've not heard any rumblings that it was going to go away. And there are companies that specialize in doing this stuff. So it's
That's why President Trump didn't pay any taxes.
and that's the thing though too. It's like anybody on this call, anybody can use the same methodology. Anyone could. It isn't like it's only for certain people. Anyone can use it. Anyone can use it, and it's a great way to shield your money. You know, anyone can use it, even the people in Congress.
Yeah.
The tax code is written for us all, right? Yeah. Excellent. All right, guys. So hopefully, did you guys get any value out of this discussion today?
Good stuff.
I hope so. Good. Okay.
Very good discussion. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, excellent. All right. And Miranda Hernandez. All right, Miranda. So you hadn't heard of accelerated depreciation. Well, I'll tell you,
really.
Yeah, it's huge. It is, and I'll be talking about it more in the future too. So this is the first show of a weekly show, like I said before. So yeah, I hope to see you guys next week. I think I don't remember what the topic is for next week, but next week I have different topics every week. So it's always something new. So we'll keep it new and fresh. All right.
Great. Thanks for the time.
You bet, guys. All right. Have a great day, guys. I'll let you get back to your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Good day, everyone.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks,
bye,
everyone.
guys. Bye, guys.